that aren't great. But 68% of our teachers are going to be average. So my question is, how do we make that average? Now, I will be honest with you. In a site-based management system, I love this. Why would I like this if this was done site-based management school to school?
Because you'd allocate resources.
You're going
to get rid of the teachers that are...
Yeah, Toby knows how cynical I am. I'm going to get rid of the teachers that suck. In a big district, you can't do that because it's unfair, because the students are different, the populations are different. But in a site-based management system, I can reward the top 16%, I can get rid of the 16% that aren't fitting, and the other 68% I can invest professional development and strategy into. But we're not using that here. So we're not leveling the playing field, even though it's suggested that we do. So I mention this because you need to know this. This is not common in North America right now. Why are we looking at performance-based budgeting? Well, we're looking at it because of the state of Hawaii, the state of Iowa, and the state of Alaska. They're the ones that are using it. They're regularly using it. So we're seeing what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them. But I also want to, kind of talk to you a little bit about what Hawaii and what Alaska look like. Do you think that one island in Hawaii can really impact what the other island looks like? Probably not. But you know that Tulsa and Owasso and Broken Arrow, they're stone's throws away. I could drive 15 minutes down the road and I'm in Claremore. So what happens in one of those districts could impact what happens in the other district. Maybe not so much in these other states, but this is what we're looking at when we talk about shutdown performance-based budgeting. So what should it look like? This is basically, what the book says that it should be done. The one thing that I want to stress, because like I said, I'm going over big ideas here, public. That any of your data and anything that you're using has to be made public for this, which that scares me to death, because how would you like to be the one that has to go down and shut down an athletic program that two of the school board's children are on the athletic team for that program, because you're saying, in theory, this isn't as important as football and basketball. And once again, if we're looking at it truthfully, it's not as important as football and basketball, because football and basketball are the ones that are bringing in the money, which is raising the property value. So, it's difficult. So, cost-based benefit, you have to measure what success looks like. And I still don't get how to measure what success looks like in some classrooms. I mean, my administrative experience, I couldn't measure what success looked like because my opinion of success was different than other people's measure of success. I was a math guy. Do you think I was able to sit in a kindergarten room and know what the heck was going on with reading until I actually got to do it a few times? I knew what success looked like in math. There's some of you that know what success looked like in reading in early childhood reading that don't know what it looks like in math, and you need time to use it. So that part of it, knowing what success looks like, makes this difficult and it makes it challenging. So at the school level, they talk about programming units. And this is going to be one of the discussion boards that you do a little bit later on in the course. So I want you to look at this slide, star this slide. This is one that I'm going to have you look at. I'm going to ask you to take one item in your building or in a building that is in your district, and I'm going to want you to tell me what it would look like: minimal, current, optimal, and augmented. So you're going to say, here's the current cost, here's the minimal cost if we cut, here's the cost if we did it to what it was supposed to be, and here's this, the dream that we all talk about if we have more money than we know what to do with. So what would that program and what would that look like? How many of you have had your librarians cut in your buildings and in your districts? Nobody yet? Okay, I hope it doesn't happen. Anybody? Just let me check on this, because I know that Florida's going through this right now. Do your librarians have to have media specialist certifications?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so how are they bypassing that in Florida? Do you know what they're doing?
Calling it something else?
Bachelor's degree, not an education, media specialist certification. All you do is take a test. Guess what they can also do with that? Pay the people less money. So I don't know if Oklahoma's going to get there, but that's one of their ways that they're doing the library media specialist certification. So next we go over ranking, and we're going to do this later. You're going to do this on the discussion board. We're going to rank them. There's an example of it, but look at this. This is an example of what we would say, we've decided this is the most important, this is the least important stuff in our building. So we say that library media is 67th, guidance services are 68th, instrumental music is 69th. And we can actually look and see kind of where where we can cut, what we could get rid of, and things like that. And that's that's what this book is going to have you do, because you are going to have to make difficult decisions. And I mean, I didn't have to make these decisions I made for cutting more technology decisions. Those were pretty simple. I mean, basically, it's do you get new computers or don't get new computers. I mean, those aren't that difficult. So why do we do this? We do this based on different elements of why performance-based budgeting works. The main reason that they say that this works is it gives the principal autonomy and credibility. If the principal has control, that's a good thing. The principal is going to have the ability to control who they are, what they want, and they're going to have the resources, and they're going to feel like they're in charge of the building and they can make those decisions. But once again, coming from the district I worked at, we had 7 elementary schools. If you put all 7 of us in a different realm and said, you each make your decisions differently, we would have 7 drastically different elementary schools. Let's say your passion in life as a parent is you want your kids to be very strong in math. Well, you would want to go to my building because I'd be the math guy. I'd cut off reading to help math. What if the other principal down the hall or down the road, she's the reading principal, and you live in that building? Then that can be an issue. So, what you do for autonomy, I think it's challenging. Organizational theory. When we used the brick book, for those of you that had that class, we talked about what relationships did and what feedback from stakeholders did. Only thing that the stakeholders at those community levels cared about when they had money was they wanted it to go to support for math, support for English, and support for school safety. That's what they said, we want. So that was in Chicago, but in a site-based management budgeting system, you can actually get feedback from the stakeholders and do what they want. So once again, that can be a good thing as well. So ownership. You interpret ownership any way that you want to. It can be good, it can be bad. Some of you probably would like some of your parents to take ownership. Some of you would hate your parents to have that much ownership. Different people, different organizations. So communication, I do believe in this. I think when you make major purchases, it's transparent to all stakeholders, and that helps rationale in the district. It protects you as a superintendent if your building principals are being transparent, because then you can at least say this is what they're doing, they got this approval from A, B, and C, and it can help you. And as future superintendents, this is definitely something that you want to consider. I'm all about transparency in school budgeting. So this, I gotta agree with. I really do have to agree with this, even though I'm giving you a position that's district-wise. Site-based management budgeting will be a million times more efficient because there's one decision made, and then that principal can go get a bid, they can make their purchases, bing, bang, boom, 24 hours later, you got the resources you need. Think about what would happen if you needed a new set of textbooks in one of your buildings. How long would that take you?
Oh. Takes a long time.
Yeah. I mean, could take, depending on if you have to wait for a school board meeting, you're changing around the curriculum. If it's site-based management, it's done at the building level. You make a decision, you go forward with it, and it's good. It is more efficient, so I can see that. The idea of creativity in these systems as well, goes back to org theory. Every single school is its own organization. They all think differently, and they all have different sets of stakeholders, meaning we need to be creative with the organizations, with the students that are supplying the organizations. You all have different populations in school districts. The district that I was an administrator in, the building I was at was in the poorest area of it, and it was basically all of the remaining trailer parks. So what the supports they needed were more, I would argue, from the physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domain. They needed emotional and social support. They didn't need, I was more concerned with that than I was with physical and intellectual. Some of you that are in your richer upper class buildings, you're going to find that they probably need more intellectual support. So our book suggests that you need to do this because there's going to be higher productivity, better organizational unity, and we should have improved performance. So I am only doing 2 chapters from this book, and I'm going to dive right in and I'm going to do the next chapter because this is the concept. The concept is now on the beautiful superintendency test. So the other 8 chapters, they're kind of things you can watch on your own online when I have them filmed. If you want to pursue the rest of the chapters in the book, that's glorious. If you don't, no big deal. It's more important that you get feedback on what the first couple chapters look like. So that's the goal of this. So, did you stop? Oh, sorry.